Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Workday Morning Show. I am your host, Tony Gilfillan, and I still have music playing. Let me turn that off. All right. Yesterday we were doing a bunch of fun stuff with strings, and we'll get to that in a minute. Let me just jump into my screen here. Have a couple interesting tidbits of news that I like to share with you guys. Saw this morning. Looks like Meta signed an agreement with a bunch of different news sources to incorporate relevant news articles in all of their AI stuff. So if you're using Facebook or Instagram or any of their other tools to search for news, it looks like they're actually going to get some um, real published articles coming through that AI tool. So that's relatively interesting. I don't particularly use Meta for searching anything like that, but if that is your news source, looks like it might be getting a little bit of a bump in agreed to buy Warner Brothers. That includes Game of Thrones, DC, all that fun stuff. So a lot of interesting stuff that Netflix is now going to be um, the owner of. If you are a Netflix subscriber, you might be getting a significant amount more stuff with that. Um, Not sure how I feel about that, because that also includes all the Lord of the Rings stuff. So um, I feel like Amazon's been doing a pretty decent job with the uh, Rings of Power series, but we'll see what happens. I don't know. All these weird mergers and stuff in the entertainment world tend to go one way or the other. So we'll just have to wait and see on this one. Alrighty, so this dev site, we don't need that quite yet. So yesterday, I had Claude drop me a little kind of breakdown of what the problem was yesterday and kind of how we've actually solved it, and we'll get to the solution here in a second. So basically, on all of these flowwise steps, uh, whenever it outputs that string from our agent, so we had our agent outputting essentially recipes, multi-line recipes with different formatting in it, that was causing problems. Basically, when you're putting it into an HTTP request using that JSON format, because it was all broken up. It was not a fully formed JSON string, and so that was a problem. It was essentially outputting this, and we're getting these basically concatenated strings that a JSON format doesn't like. It needs that full converted JSON string. So basically, it came out of this. We were using a function to convert those into carriage returns that the JSON can handle, and then we were stripping out all the concatenated strings. This basically the plus sign in between our strings that was then creating a full string, and then that full string was then able to be put into JSON. Not able to get to this part because every time it was outputting the string, it was actually re-escaping everything back in inverted literal. So my solution was actually do it all in just one custom function. So this agent is outputting a funny string into basically this format. So that string was outputting like this, that raw input string. So I was getting the concatenated strings together, and obviously that's not uh, fully formed JSON. So what I did here was I stuck that input into a JSON stringify, basically a secondary function to just stringify the string that comes out. So it comes in here as a raw string, but then gets stringified into a full string. So it's not the concatenated string with the pluses and the different strings being put together, because that would still blow it up. And now this is going into my my Slack bot. So this is being pushed to my Slack bot, and then my Slack bot is actually doing the conversion um, of the formatting to a Slack appropriate format. So essentially, I took out the steps for Flowwise doing the conversion, but instead pushed that conversion of the string to my Slack bot instead. take a look what that looks like. Very similar to what we were actually doing in the function that we were trying to do in our agent. But it actually works here because it's not being reconverted once it exits the step. So that was the problem. We were converting it into the format we actually needed, but once it left the step, it was being unescaped again, and then not being able to be sent via JSON. But once it gets here in that literal string format, we're able to convert it to that Slack format that we can strip out all the funny characters and then push it in a way that Slack can appreciate. So let's actually see what this like on the Slack side. Here we are. So we started yesterday. This is what it was. The first thing we got through. Again, this is darn ugly. The new lines weren't coming through. The string literal was not being converted, and we were having all kinds of issues. It kind of blowing up when actually pushing in, and it never did get in. And then this is what it looks like when you push that conversion out to our Node.js app, and it's doing our conversion for us. And obviously, this now is formatting in a proper way. I actually tested it a little bit further with some extra funny formatting. So I had Claude create me just a silly garbity gook of of formatting. You can see all kinds of weird characters and icons and all kinds of fun stuff here that doesn't make a lot of sense, but would usually throw some formatting issues otherwise. But this seems to handle it. And let's go ahead and do the full flow here. Talk to our agent directly here. Say give recipe, and then we'll bake this into our actual Slack flow here after we testing. So again, instead of doing the conversion here in Slack or in Flowwise and then pushing to that HTTP call, we're just doing um, the HTTP call and the JSON stringify in this custom function. This custom function is, again, just doing a simple post. It's doing that HTTP call for us, and it is also able to do our JSON stringify, basically really only needing for that input that is coming out of our that is specified here in our input variables. But name is just input, that's referenced down here. And then we're also referencing O0, which is our actual. One more time. Check our Slack response, see if it came through. So yep, today is our recipe that's coming through. Perfect. Although it does look like it's sending a hard-coded test value after. I have to figure that string. The string of coming out. Or at. At post message. That looks fine. Try this one more time just to have. Then once we get rid of this little test string that coming through somewhere, it might be hard coded in a second. We will then put it into our Slack bot to more time. Oh, having a internet flow wise. Just grabbing message from body, outputting there. Flow died on me. My VP. Again. Oh, while that's kind of spinning, we can pivot over to our Slack bot. What we're going to do now is create a listener for our Slack bot to listen for its own reference. I think that's already baked in here. We just need to functioning, and then we can start building it out to interact with our bot. Here's the app mentioned. Listening for whenever the app is mentioned, on with this. Hi, user, you mentioned. Let's jump over back and do that. Then we can then start elaborating on that. I call this bot Slack message test, Slack test bot. Response back from bot. Back. I put you guys on a brief intermission here. I'm gonna see if I can't reset my VPN. It might be a moment. There, it popped back in. Us.